Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Public Safety. At this time, we ask if you please place phones on vibrate or silent mode. Thank you, Chair. We are ready to begin.
Good morning. I am Councilmember Camila Hanks, Chair on the Committee of Public Safety. Welcome to today's hearings to consider proposed introduction 1001A, sponsored by Councilmember Schulman. I am joined by committee members Schulman and virtually Councilmember Ariola. I want to thank Councilmember Schulman for introducing this legislation to help address the ongoing illegal smoke shop problem. I'll let the Councilmember Schulman detail the bill, should she like, but in short, the bill will enhance enforcement efforts to address the smoke shop problem by preventing property owners from knowingly leasing commercial premises to unlicensed sellers of controlled substance or tobacco products. It also requires the sheriff to produce a monthly report detailing the enforcement efforts so the council can track whether the problem is being addressed in their communities. Finding effective solutions to curb the proliferation of unlicensed smoke shops is critical. Doing so helps to maintain public safety, ensures merchants are required to have a license to sell legal products, and aids in restriction of sale of illegal products. I want to again thank Councilmember Schulman for her leadership in sponsoring this legislation. And I'm going to turn it over for her if she has any opening comments, and we will hear from representatives from the administration, who I'd also like to thank for being here today. Thank you. Councilmember.
Thank you, Chair Hanks. Honorable Chair of the Public Safety Committee, members of the Public Safety Committee, and members of the public, today the Council will hear Intro 1001A. This bill aims to hold landlords accountable for knowingly leasing commercial premises to unlicensed sellers of controlled substances or tobacco products. I am grateful for the opportunity to present this vital legislation and engage in a thoughtful dialogue with all of you. Intro 1001A represents a crucial step towards maintaining the integrity and safety of our communities. This bill seeks to address a pressing issue that has plagued our neighborhoods for far too long: the presence of illegal businesses operating under the guise of legitimate enterprises. By holding landlords accountable for knowingly enabling these illegal activities, we can restore the trust and security that our residents deserve. We have seen firsthand the adverse effects that these illegal businesses can have on our communities. Many of these businesses are selling adulterated products, they're selling to children, and they are operating in cash-only transactions that subvert sales tax and put our community at risk of robberies and crime. It is our duty as public servants to ensure that our commercial spaces are utilized in a responsible and lawful manner. Intro 1001A will send a clear message. Those who knowingly lease their properties to illegal businesses will face consequences. This bill will create a mechanism to allow the sheriff or any other city agency to identify and penalize landlords who are complicit in perpetuating illicit activities. By implementing strict regulations, increasing enforcement efforts, and empowering our agencies with the necessary tools, we can dismantle the networks that enable these illegal enterprises to flourish. I also want to mention that there are members of the public who are trying to get legitimate licenses for these businesses, and this is preventing them from doing so. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to the Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Camila Hanks, for recognizing the urgency of this issue and for facilitating this hearing. Your commitment to the safety and well-being of our constituents is commendable, and I am grateful for your leadership in addressing this critical matter. I also want to thank the committee staff who've been amazing working with my staff on this legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Schulman. Now I'll pass it over to Committee Counsel.
Thank you, thank you, Chair Hanks. I'll now swear in our witness from the Sheriff's Office. With us today we have Maureen Kokias, the Commanding Officer of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. If you can please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions? You may begin your testimony.
Is that on now? Yeah, okay. I'll start again. Good morning, Chair Hanks, members of the council. I am Maureen Kokias, Commanding Officer of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation for the New York City Sheriff's Office. I'm here to testify before your committee on the bill being heard today, Intro 1001A. Since the state legalized personal cannabis use, New York City has experienced an epidemic of illegal and unlicensed cannabis sellers. Smoke shops have always existed in the city, but what we have seen over the past year is unprecedented. In some neighborhoods, you will see multiple smoke shops on the same block, all of which are engaged in potentially dangerous unlicensed sale of cannabis and cannabis products. Furthermore, the vast majority of these unlicensed illegal smoke shops also engage in illegal unlicensed sale of cigarettes, other tobacco products, and e-cigarettes. Many engage in all of these illegal activities. If the status quo is allowed to continue, there may be disastrous consequences for the legal regulated cannabis industry, which ensures that the cannabis being sold in the city is as safe as possible for the consumers. Additionally, these unlicensed smoke shops deprive the state and city of vital tax revenue, which is intended to be used to support education, housing, community reinvestment, drug treatment, and other vital programs. Instead, the money is going into the pockets of these unscrupulous scofflaws who have no interest in anything but their own bottom line. These scofflaws have no regard for who is being harmed by their unlicensed activity, whether the products they are selling are uninspected, unregulated, and potentially unsafe cannabis, the exposures of minors to dangerous products such as cannabis, cigarettes, other tobacco products, and e-cigs, or the harm resulting from the loss of tax revenue needed to fund city and state programs. Now that the state legislature has empowered the Office of Cannabis Management to conduct inspections at these illegal locations, they have hit the ground running in their enforcement efforts. However, this is a problem that should be attacked from every angle available, and we are committed to leveraging the tools that we have available. I will now turn to the proposed legislation. Intro 1001A would prohibit knowingly leasing commercial premises to unlicensed dealers of controlled substances, including the unlicensed sale of cannabis and tobacco products. The bill would also require monthly reporting on enforcement activities taken against unlicensed controlled substance and tobacco product sellers pursuant to the bill. The administration supports the intent of this bill and is eager to work with the council on these issues, but we believe that the legal questions concerning the drafting of the proposal need to be addressed. The administration is also concerned that the monthly reporting requirements would present operational and staffing challenges without providing any substantive additional benefits that a quarterly or biennial report would provide. Further, the administration notes that the bill leaves out unlicensed e-cigarette activity, which also needs legislative attention. The administration looks forward to working with the council and the sponsor on the most effective way to achieve the bill's goals. Thank you for the opportunity to testify about this important issue, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. I would like, before I get into my line of questioning, I just want to let everyone know that we've been joined by Councilmember Brannan, Councilmember Caban, and virtually Councilmember Holden. So let's get right to it with some of the questions that I have. So to start off with, do you have a current estimate of how many unlicensed cannabis sellers operate smoke shops in New York City?
We don't have a specific number of unlicensed smoke shops. What we do have is a database of allegations that we've received, and those allegations range from allegations of selling illegal cannabis without a license, selling cigarettes to minors, selling other tobacco products, flavored vapes, all types of different contraband. So we put all of the allegations into one database. And that database is sourced from a variety, from members of the community, from other city agencies, and from elected officials.
So there's no general number that you can speak to?
Originally there was 1,300, and then we got a lot more, and we subtracted some when we inspected them, or we did these other intelligence inspections where we took them off the list because the allegation was unfounded.
Oh, thank you so much. What is the current procedure of enforcement against unlicensed cannabis and tobacco sellers?
So the Sheriff's Joint Compliance Task Force works with the Office of Cannabis Management, the NYPD, DCWP, and other city agencies as needed to conduct inspections on locations that are selling any type of contraband, whether it's cigarettes, other tobacco products, flavored vapes, or cannabis.
Thank you. Are you finding that smoke shops are selling other illicit products like spice and K2 or lacing products with illicit drugs or controlled substances?
We do find NCs, prescription pills, and lately we've been seizing a lot of mushrooms.
Which leads me to my next question, which is, do you find that the psychedelic mushrooms to be a problem.
Yes, that's a dangerous narcotic, and they are in candy bars that are advertised and attractive to children.
So is there going to be a priority of enforcement against trademarks aimed at appealing to minors? And, they have like cartoon characters, superheroes. The packaging is appealing to young people?
Well, we always seize those products, and we can't always target locations by knowing that they're selling, but if we get a specific allegation that somebody has gotten sick in a location or it's next to a school and it has these products, yes, then we prioritize those.
How many complaints are you getting of folks who have gotten ill from?
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but
Is there going to be some sort of report that we can kind of like quantify, how many people are getting products that are laced or they're becoming ill from it at all?
I believe the Department of Health would have to issue a report like that. That's not something that we put it into a spreadsheet that there's a note if somebody complained of somebody getting sick. We could work on seeing if we could extract that information.
Have you found that teachers or educational places are having complaints about, kids coming in under the influence, regarding any sales to minors or purchase of cannabis?
I do know that we have received complaints from teachers and school administrators of kids getting sick.
How many smoke shops have been raided because of unlicensed cannabis or any illicit, unlicensed tobacco product sales?
So since the start of the Sheriff's Joint Compliance Task Force, we have inspected 288 locations. I believe there's been other locations inspected as well, outside of the Joint Compliance Task
Do you have a breakdown by borough, or is there any borough that's higher or areas that are higher than others?
We can get that information to you. We do track it by precinct and by county.
Thank you, that's important. Thank you so much. So what agencies participate in unlicensed cannabis shop enforcement?
Well, the Sheriff's Joint Compliance Task Force is not exclusively for cannabis, but the agencies that are on our task force are the Office of the Sheriff, Department of Finance, Tax Enforcement, the NYPD, DCWP, Office of Cannabis Management, and when appropriate, the Office of Special Enforcement sends buildings and fire inspectors.
How will enforcement agencies coordinate their efforts to enforce Intro 1001A?
So we are deconflicting and coordinating with all of those agencies on a regular basis, and we have been since the beginning of the task force.
Yeah, because I'm interested in understanding, what the numbers will be, how we will put mechanisms in place so the reporting, the questions that I'm asking, we will have answers to them and timely reporting. Do you have any idea of what that's going to look like?
Not at this time.
Okay, we have a lot to consider and think about. Will there be any educational or awareness campaigns to inform owners and tenants about the prohibition on leasing to unlicensed cannabis sellers?
I'm sure there will be, but I don't have the details of how that will unfold at this point.
Thank you. My last question is, has NYPS seen any increase in crime at locations where retailers are selling marijuana or tobacco products without a license in New York City?
Yeah, I can't comment on the NYPD statistics other than I know that there's been smoke shop robberies related to large amounts of cash being kept in these locations.
Thank you. I'll pass it to my colleague, Councilmember Schulman, should she have any questions.
Not at this time, Chair.
Okay. Councilmember Brannan has questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Could you tell us the legislation that we acknowledge that Albany dropped the ball here when they legalized these retail licenses without any sort of clear enforcement component. Unfortunately, in the city, we're the ones that have to deal with their mess. And I support the legalization of marijuana, but this rollout has been a disaster, and unfortunately, we're getting a lot of the blame for it, which I don't think is fair, but it is what it is. The bill that they just passed in Albany, has it made anything clearer or easier for enforcement? Because we're hearing all sorts of different things. I think Albany sees it as, you know, the silver bullet we were hoping for, but no one else seems to agree with that. And since you guys are the ones actually doing the work, I trust you more than the victory lap I'm hearing from them. So I'd like to know if it does give you the tools you need. If not, where does it fall short? And what should we really be doing?
So I'm not an attorney, and I can't really comment on the legislation. I can tell you that the Office of Cannabis Management has been out with New York State Taxation and Finance, and even though they were a little slow to get to this point, that they seem to be out and about and really taking enforcement action on locations in the city.
But what needs to be done, you know, if I have a restaurant or a bar and I'm serving or selling alcohol or liquor without a liquor license, it's pretty cut and dry what happens, and that the police are allowed to take action. What needs to be done to have that same enforcement here, or to trigger that same enforcement here?
We need the opportunity to go in and close them down. There just needs to be a way to shut down businesses that refuse to comply.
And is it correct that right now you actually haven't, you meaning the sheriff's office, but the Department of Finance has an easier time shutting down establishments that are selling untaxed cigarettes or illegal vape juice than you do shutting down stores that are selling marijuana without a license?
Yes.
Okay. So is it a change in the state law, or what would need to be done in order to make your life easier?
We would need the legislative authority to close down these places selling illegal
Okay,
cannabis.
and as far as you know, and what the lawyers are saying, or at least advising for now, or they're still looking into it, we don't think that the legislation they just passed does that.
I don't believe it has all the things in that legislation that we need to get done. I think there's more that can be done.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Brannan. Councilmember Rita Joseph? We have been joined by Councilmember Rita Joseph, and she will ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I wanted to find out, what do you have a actual list and locations of where these illegal smoke shops are?
So we have a list of locations where we've received allegations of either cannabis sales or flavored vape sales to minors. It's one master list. Okay. And then we also have a list of places that we have inspected and seized product from.
For example, in my district, I have a smoke shop that's literally right next door to a daycare. And when we try to call for enforcement, they said daycares were not included in the 500 feet rule. Is that?
I don't believe that is correct, because I know that we have inspected locations next to child care facilities. So.
And you're able to, and with this intro, you're able to go in and.
So it's possible that the law that says you can't sell within 500 feet of a school doesn't include daycare.
So we need to amend that, because I have a daycare in my district where the shop is literally right next door to this daycare. So now I have preschoolers smelling this stuff.
But that doesn't mean that we can't go inspect it.
Okay.
Just because we can't cite for that specific law.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not an attorney, but if we can't cite for the law, it doesn't mean we can't go and inspect it.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, because these are people's babies that at this daycare, and I'm getting emails every single day about this, and it bothers me, the fact that they said they could not because it wasn't part of the school, but the fact that now you're saying it's part of a daycare and it has children in it, underage children. So we should be able to address it. And what kind of education are you going to put out, educational campaign around this?
Well, the sheriff's office has been, out there since this situation just started getting worse and worse. And I know the Department of Health has done a lot of education. Department of Consumer Affairs has done a lot of education. Sheriff's office has primarily been out doing enforcement. But we are all in on fighting this. So,
Because we also want to see education in the hands of young people, making sure that they know that they should not frequent these shops as well. So I want to know what's the outreach for young people. Are you working with New York City Public Schools as well?
I'd have to get back to you on that because I personally am not, and I don't know that there is a program working with the schools.
They should. Thank you.
Thank you,
Chair.
Councilmember. Thank you, Councilmember Joseph. Councilmember Schulman?
Yes, hi. So my question is, when you close down, when you raid an illegal weed store and they open up again the next day or 2 days later, do you go back or you wait, or is it a cycle? How does that work?
So we do go back to places. There's a lot of places that we close down and we take everything out of the store and the next day they're loaded up again. So yeah, ideally we would go back every day if we could.
Right.
But we do go back to locations on occasion. It's just a matter of getting through prioritizing to make sure we're going throughout the entire city.
So in essence, this law that would hold the landlords liable would actually save you guys some wear and tear because ultimately they'd have to get rid of these tenants.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I just have a few more questions. So I know that some people claim that some of these illegal vendors are doing so because the products and the process of obtaining a valid registration from the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance and a tobacco retailer license from the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection is tedious. Can you tell us how long the process takes to get these valid registrations and what that process looks like?
The OCM licensing is done exclusively by the state of New York, and I know that it's been slow being rolled out. And the DCWP licenses, again, that is not my agency that manages that. But there is an issue with people, once they lose their license in that district, they're not going to get another license in that district.
Thank you so much. Is there any further questions from my colleagues? That being no, we're going to close out and adjourn this meeting. Thank you so, sorry. Oh, we have one with, sorry, we're going to go to public testimony. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
For public testimony, I'd like to call up Amaratu Kamara. Good morning. You can proceed whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. I'm Amaratu. This is my first time here at the Committee for Public Safety. I'm an organizer at the Office of the Community Liaison. We're working with NYPD Monitor on their stop and frisk reform efforts. So I don't have much of a comment, but I do have like a question that I want the committee to keep in mind regarding the Sheriff's Office's partnership with the NYPD and enforcement, how that will affect stop and frisk police reform, given the latest, I guess, Monitor report that we can't be very confident that a lot of the stop and frisk interactions going on right now are actually compliant with the recent legislation. I mean, the recent court cases.
Sir.
So can you just repeat your question
If the committee has any insight or any comment as to how this will affect stop and frisk policing enforcement or the sheriff's partnership with NYPD on this, if they have any comment.
So in context of this hearing, we're talking about cannabis and the illegal sale of cannabis, meaning that the enforcement would be to the landlord and not to folks on the ground, right? So, but I understand your question, and this committee takes protecting civil liberties very seriously, and so we can definitely chat offline. We'll give you a card, and I can better answer your question. Thank you so much for coming and testifying. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you as well. We have someone online.
Yes. Next, we'll turn to Tom Harris, who's with us via Zoom.
Good morning, Chairperson Hanks and members of the Committee on Public Safety. My name is Tom Harris, and I'm the president of the Times Square Alliance, the business improvement district that exists to make Times Square clean, safe, and desirable for all. Before I begin, we accept the legalization of cannabis and have had conversations with an entrepreneur looking to bring in a legal dispensary to Times Square. But this is about the illegal operators in our city that jeopardize our safety and prevent those legal distributors from thriving. First, thank you to the council for this legislation. I agree with the chair that finding effective solutions is critical to maintaining public safety. Anything that will help address the proliferation of illegal weed stores in our city is appreciated. In 5 months, Times Square has gone from 2 illegal weed stores to 12. These stores make Times Square less safe. One has been robbed. There have been 2 homicides within 100 feet of another, and a person was shot in front of a third. I'm sure citywide crime data would show that these illegal stores make our city less safe. In addition to the violence, crime, and disorder surrounding these stores, many regularly market and sell their unregulated products to underage children. We learned that lab tests on some of the products purchased contain fentanyl and that others contained rat poison. While this bill is helpful, more is needed. The violence, potential health hazard, and inaction from Albany to effectively address the issue should make this a top priority for the council and the administration. Multiple simultaneous actions from the council are needed. I'm proposing a 4-step process. This bill is a first step. It holds landlords accountable. The second step is to hold the illegal operators accountable. The nuisance abatement laws were used successfully in the 1990s to eliminate activity in establishments. In 2017, the City Council changed the nuisance abatement laws such that it is harder to issue closure orders when illegal activity is observed taking place within the premises.
Continue.
I'm urging the council to revisit their action in 2017 for illegal weed stores that sell to minors and allow judges to immediately issue a closure order when 2 incidents of illegal sales to minors occur at the same location. This is similar to the presumption for brothels and massage parlors. This narrowly tailored approach will help make our children and communities safer. Third is more resources. The sheriff's been doing an excellent job, and he needs more support from the New York City Police Department. The sheriff is reporting 288 inspections year to date. Based on those numbers, it'll take over 3 years to inspect the 1,600 weed locations reported in our city. We don't have 3 years. Allow the NYPD to be more involved. And the 4th step is for us all to join forces. We believe the City Council, the City Administration, and the community should lobby Albany to give the Office of Cannabis Management the same authority granted to the State Liquor Authority to shut down unlicensed liquor stores immediately, the same way they close unlicensed bars. To effectively deal with this crisis, we need to take the handcuffs off law enforcement and enforce the illegal activity to help make our neighborhoods safe. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for your testimony. With that, is there any other further questions from my colleagues? With that, I want to thank Councilmember Schulman once again for her leadership in sponsoring this legislation. There's a lot more that we need to unpack with this legislation and how it's going to be enforced. And with that, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.